Ben Vitale?
Here.
Grant Kyle? Paul Pickney?
Here.
Aileen McNabb Coleman?
Present.
Joseph DeForest?
Present.
Terry Baxter?
Aye.
Joseph Bennett?
Present.
Frank Reginelli?
Here.
Patrick Mahonic?
Here.
Timothy Lattimore is excused. Michael Didio?
Here.
Ryan Foley?
Present.
Keith Batman.
Here. So if we could rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have the, and no public hearing. We do have some presentations. So, if I might ask, Mr. Baxter,
My last day, can you leave me alone?
Mr. Reginelli, and Mr. Kyle, when he gets here, to join me. Would you join me?
I thought you wanted me to wait for Mr. Cox.
Yeah, well, we'll talk to him later. So the first thing is that, and I really hesitate to do this so publicly because it's not very cool, but.
You're gonna need this for you.
Yeah, was, yeah, because I was wondering, I think I know the answer, but I was wondering, you know the money I loaned you?
Yeah.
Do you have that?
I'm a Republican.
I am. No, we have the plaques of appreciation for your service. Thank you. It's simply recognition, a little recognition of all the work you've done on behalf of the residents of Cayuga County, on behalf of the legislature and the staff. And just thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Now you guys are starting to embarrass me a little. Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here, being part of this.
Oh, great.
You missed it, man. You don't
If you could come forward. No, we have the plaque in appreciation for your service. So, thank you very much. Do you want to say a few words? Again, thank you all so much.
Minutes for approval, 11:16 of 17, Committee of the Whole, 11:16 of 17, and Special Ledge Meeting, 11:28 of 17.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So we need to go back. I know public could be heard. I have a resident of District 7 that would like to address us. George? I think everyone knows Mr. Farron. Now, I told George it's 3 minutes, but it's...
Second that.
I'll try to do the best I can. Okay, the county was formed 218 years ago when the fastest thing around was a horse. And there's a lot of things that have not changed since then. And I understand you guys are looking for a wage increase, which I don't think is inappropriate. But to do more than 1 year on it right now, what I'd like to challenge you to do is try press for bringing us into modern times in a lot of ways. In some areas you don't have control of, but you can influence the towns and villages and so on like that. I mean, if you think about it, we need 46 different judges in towns, for instance. Do you guys really all work 30 hours a week? I don't think so. I know some of you do, and some of you don't, and I'm not trying to get political about it. Because people on either side, some of them work more, some work less. We didn't start off with 23 towns, but that's what we have now, and we have 9 villages. There's 35 different entities that do highway work in Cayuga County, 2 state, 23 towns, 9 villages, whatever, and unless some of them don't do it, I'm not sure on that, absolutely. But anyway, I understand you're studying the possibility of reducing the size of the ledge. That's been talked about before. And some people are unaware of things like the 14th Amendment to the United States related to equal protection under the law, which requires weighted voting, according to the Supreme Court, since 1963, and several cases since. So whatever you do, I think reducing the size of the legislative body is not a bad idea. But first of all, you're going to have to make it where everybody's term expires simultaneous, and then the new ledge would start out at that point. That would be a time to really pump some money into what a legislator gets, because with a lesser body, then maybe there'd be a lot more work for each one, and that's been done in other counties. Assessment is an example of, if you go to Tompkins County and look at countywide assessment, I mean, here we have 23 towns that have separate assessment, plus the city. I mean, the Tompkins County model is exemplary, and you don't really control that because it's town law. They would have to surrender that, but it's a better idea in the end, and you can provide leadership for all kinds of things like that. So less districts, but one thing I would beg you to do is, whatever you do, just don't get politics into things a whole lot and start trying to draw districts that favor a party or not a party. You make districts that are practical in area, and combinations of different towns and so on like that in the city, so many districts inside the city. But there's a lot of talk about some of these things over the years, but we've never just gotten much of them done. So my challenge to you is, yes, raise your wage for a year, not for a year, but do the first raise, but make the next one, plan it into some of the progress that you can do with reconfiguring the ledge itself to a smaller body that have dedicated people that work more hours and so on like that, if we can find people to do it. And I realize it's sometimes hard to find somebody to run for an office in some of our districts. I'm about out of time, probably.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to be heard? Okay, very good, thank you. The president wasn't able to join us tonight. Mr. Mahunik, do you know, or do you have any updates you'd like to share?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Committee reports, individual legislators' reports. Are there any of those? Ms. McCann-Coleman?
I have a few items to report on. As Parks Commissioner, I volunteered to participate in the interview process to fill the position of Parks Maintenance Supervisor for the county. A selection has been made, and discussion with the top candidate is currently underway. Gary Duck and his staff have been pulling together for nearly a year to keep the department moving forward. However, by filling this position, the department will gain much needed relief. So I want to say thank you to Gary and his staff for working so diligently on this effort, as well as in the interim. So thank you, Gary. As a member of the Owasco Lake Watershed Management Council and the Watershed Inspection Committee, I've been participating in many discussions regarding the future of the inspection program. At this time, Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation District has agreed to maintain administration of this program, while clarification is sought on the bylaws of the Management Council. I want to thank Soil and Water and the inspection program staff for their patience with this transition. There will be an informational presentation on the proposed watershed inspection program to Auburn City Council on Thursday, January 11th, if anyone's interested in attending that. I'm sure the chairman's going to comment on this, but yesterday's announcement of the Regional Economic Development Council Awards proved to be a very good day for Cayuga County. Among all the recipients, $600,000 was awarded to the Owasco Flats Wetland Creation, which is fantastic. Other environmental projects in the area include the Nature Conservancy. They were awarded $1.1 million, which allows the acquisition of up to 6 parcels in the Owasco Lake watershed. And then the Soil and Water District was awarded nearly $1 million for stream bank work, stormwater, and riparian projects, and that was amazing. There were also 9 municipal awards, many of which our own planning staff members helped or advised on. So many thanks to everyone for all of their hard work and effort with these. Thank you. And Steve, thank you very much. And if I may, as this year comes to a close, I want to say that my experience as a member of the management team was invaluable to me as a public servant as well as a taxpayer. I've learned so much from the department heads, staff, and fellow legislators. This experience strengthened one of my initial observations of this county 2 years ago as a new legislator. That is that we have hardworking and loyal department heads and staff. Their concern and passion for the departments, their staff, and service delivery is impressive. I want to thank the departments with whom I've worked, and I look forward to resuming my legislative responsibilities as we usher in our new administrator, Mr. Woods. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitman, did you have something?
Yes, on a very important topic. It's currently snowing in Sterling and has been snowing in Sterling and looks like it will forever be snowing in Sterling.
No, that's so surprising this time of year.
That blew me away. You're not alone. No.
So, anyone else? Mr. DeForest.
I'd like to take this moment at the end of this legislative year to express gratitude to the transition team, Aileen McNabb-Coleman, Ben Vitale, Jim Orman, and Keith Batman. At the pleasure and support of the full legislature, and understanding that all were concerned and sensitive to the fact that the legislature had been obligated to pay out a previous administrator's contract, solicitation for a group of bipartisan volunteers to serve as a transition team with the chairman commenced. The team created was made up of only legislative members that were willing to step up at the time with no additional compensation to meet the commitment required. The county treasurer was invited to be a member for his expertise, but more importantly, to represent a bipartisan effort in team management. Ben Vitale stepped down as Public Works Chair to dedicate more time to the transition team, and in the spirit of bipartisanship, Terry Baxter was made Chair. The transition split into 4 areas of oversight to navigate the day-to-day administration of county work, with the chair being the spokesman for the team during legislative meetings. The team was to make its best effort to work within the capacity of the county administrator, subject to the rules that govern that position. These are some of the successes of the transition team that come to mind. The continuance of county administration of departments and overall day-to-day operations, the appropriate communication to departments, committee, and legislature that saw the advent of a monthly majority-minority meetings and reports, regular meetings with department heads, timely in-depth reports on budget process and presentation of the 2018 budget. In addition, the transition team moved forward on continuance of contract negotiation with bargaining and non-bargaining groups. They created oversight, review, and recommendations for all employment, new hires, position realignments, and newly created positions. With the departure of the county auditor, the process of auditing accounts payable was successfully reworked using current employees. And with the departure of the highway superintendent and the general foreman, new leadership was successfully put into place at the highway department. This also represented a bipartisan effort of the transition team and the chair of Public Works. The transition team created a bipartisan environment that led to the working group made up of ledge and department heads contracting CGR to tackle potential reorganization and streamlining of county services. They created a bipartisan, unfettered environment that assisted and at the same time allowed Pat Miller, consultant, and the working group made up of ledge and department heads to establish and define the definition of the county administrator's job in relationship to departments, committee chairs, and